with respect to the fact that there are extraterrestrials and that they have been observing our planet for more than 1,000 years, and that they are reluctant to make official contact with us. I fully understand, since we are a very bellicose planet, and because of our nuclear capability, I think anybody should be very cautious about how they approach us.
Wow, this is Blake Cousins. Welcome to Third Phase of the Moon, Mr. Senator Gravel. This is basically, we consider certain radio shows a regular radio show, and then we consider some historic. And we've had, Edgar Mitchell, Third Mission to the Moon, and a nuclear physicist, Stanton T. Friedman. We consider those historical, and being with the Senator on Third Phase of the Moon is historical in our opinion. So again, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for your kind words.
Hey, let me get to this question. And you were also saying about this vast universe. I think it's mathematically impossible to deny through mathematics that there is life in the universe. It's too infinite and vast not to be that certain fact. My question is, as a senator in Alaska, was there any kind of that you could share with us, the viewers listening from around the world? We're going to be posting this up on the world's largest YouTube channel, Third Phase of the Moon, about protocol as your senator up there in case of maybe an alien, extraterrestrial craft that may have landed in Alaska, or is there any protocol? Let's just say ET landed, or there was a contact from a law personnel or something like this.
Yeah, no, I have no knowledge of that from my Alaska experience, and so the answer to your question is no. My view then and now is that it's just logical that there would be extraterrestrial. And when you say it can be proven mathematically, I was not aware of that, but it is just plain logical that would be the case.
Do you think it would be logical as well? This is the case, and we have been visited by ET for over 1,000 years, that maybe Congress should make some kind of protocol in regards to a phenomenon, a huge extraterrestrial event?
Well, in my mind, both the administration and primarily the Congress should, one, acknowledge this possibility and set up or fund the UN committee that was created some time back, fund that commission to go ahead and pull in all the data, not only from the United States, but worldwide, and to monitor this activity worldwide and report the results of this investigation and this monitoring to the public worldwide, not just the United States. It's really infantile to think that our government withholds what it has discovered from the people of the United States and the people of the world. Other countries don't do that. France gives us every bit of information they have gleaned, and so does a number of nations in South America. But it appears that the military control this monitoring within the United States government, and of course the military is always beset by the elements of secrecy. And there's no need for secrecy in this regard. This is an issue that affects all human beings on planet Earth, and that whatever information is acquired about these extraterrestrials, it should be shared with all the people on Earth.
I think we want to get to some other questions coming up in the program. We're going to be coming to break here in a minute or so, but I wanted to touch on some of the topics we're going to get to, and we want to ask you about about the certain leaks that Snowden has put out, and as well as the new. Yeah, it's quite an incredible story. We're talking about it right before you came on the show, that these characters out right now are absolutely almost cartoonish in its own way. The power these individuals have are quite amazing, and what's going on in this world seems almost like a narration, a play, almost like a play being played out for the people in a way that we can understand, and that's the way they want us to understand. So these are some of the big questions we're going to be getting into, but I also wanted to ask, while you're a senator, and we're probably going to have to save this for a break, but you were aware of Area 51, but just 6 months ago, just recently, they just announced that publicly the CIA says acknowledges that it did exist. Well, did you have any inclination or fascination about what was going on in there? And as a senator, did you have any right to, maybe visit Area 51?
Yeah, I recall going to the area, or let's say driving through the grounds. I didn't go into any hangars or anything like that, but driving through it. I forget the reason why. I think I was taking a flight on a jet that the Air Force had arranged, and we flew out of the air base there. And so I don't recall beyond that. I do recall that during that whole period, I was so upset with the Vietnam War and that's really what really floated my boat as terms of interest. And so I don't recall getting involved deeply in other issues other than trying to stop the war. We were killing thousands of people, including our own soldiers, needlessly, and that's really what upset me and what was the watershed period of my awareness of governance.
During the citizen hearing, you were presented with this testimony, a video from this man who remained anonymous, who told about working for the CIA and being ordered into the Oval Office where President Eisenhower and Vice President Nixon told him to go to Area 51, and if they did not let him in and bring back details, he was going to order the First Army out of Colorado to come in and invade Area 51. Can you tell us how that affected you or what you thought of that testimony?
Well, it just struck me as very odd in the recitation of it. Just as Goldwater's statement that LeMay told him to keep his nose out of Area 51. And I found that very unseemly. A senator is elected by the people. They're there for national policy. And for a senator to acquiesce to the arrogance of a LeMay, I think is horrible. And of course, that's not a surprise because LeMay did the same thing with the President of the United States, John F. Kennedy, and considered Kennedy a traitor. So I can't add to what you're addressing other than to say that the military essentially run our government. And it's the military-industrial complex, and so does Wall Street. So a combination of bankers and military leaders are essentially the ones who call the shots, regardless of who's elected to office. And then with respect to the foreign policy of the Middle East, well, that is determined by AIPAC, the Jewish lobby, on behalf of the Zionist Israel. And that's unfortunate. And we're seeing a pushback on that by the Obama administration in its negotiations with Iran. And I want to applaud that. And there's very little I have to congratulate Obama on, but if they're pushing for what I think is a real solution, which is a diplomatic solution.
I think diplomatic solutions are the best solutions, and there are certain presidents that know how to do that. Take Reagan for one, and stopping the Cold War. That could have got messy, but this, these talks with rogue countries. Hey, it's a small world. We got to deal with everybody. So I suggest everybody start talking instead of fighting. What I wanted to ask.
Go ahead, please.
Yeah, sure. The testimony that came out of the citizen hearing, there was a lot of it, and there was also physical evidence along with pictures and videos and the testimony. Basically, in a Congress, what do you think they would have decided hearing this? It was pretty much in a state of law, in a court of law, it already would have been proven that there's something out there, there's an incident that happened.
Keep in mind that Steve Bassett, who was the one that was heading up the Paradigm Research Group, which put on the hearing, their goal was to have a congressional hearing, and I disabused them of that. I felt that a hearing by Congress wouldn't produce anything. It would be, if anything, it would be additional cover-up by the establishment. I felt that the answer was a United Nations effort, so that other countries could outvote us if they wanted to. And lo and behold, we discovered with a little bit of research that that's exactly what had happened as a product of earlier hearings, that the United Nations created a commission. It really was at the behest of the Prime Minister of the name escapes me. We invaded that small country in the Gulf.
Panama.
Pardon me?
Oh, I thought you were meant South America. I was going to say Panama, but you said the Gulf, not Kuwait.
Yeah, the Gulf. Grenada. Right. We invaded Grenada. Yeah, we invaded Grenada. The Prime Minister of that country, who was deposed by us, he was the one that led the charge at the United Nations to create a commission. And the commission was created, and we are on it, but we refuse to fund it or to permit funding to take place. And so the commission has done nothing. And that's the vehicle that I think that we should focus on, is to get the necessary appropriations from the Congress to fund the commission, both from the United States and other countries. And that is where the effort should be made to pull everything together worldwide. To just have another hearing in the Congress, I think would be a waste of time and a waste of money. But that's my personal view, and I know that Steve Bassett feels differently about that, and I respect his views in that regard.
Interesting. Let me ask you, why do you think the government doesn't want to tell us about extraterrestrial existence here?
Because I think it's the military primarily. As I was saying earlier, the default communication process with the military is secrecy. Secondly, there's one testimony that, well, from several. We received testimony from the launch operators, military, former captain, colonels, and majors, and they were telling us that whenever there was a hovering ET over the missile silos, that all the electrical systems failed. Now, from the military point of view, I can see why they don't want that to be known, and it should be known, but they don't want it to be known because it shows that here we've spent zillions of dollars on this capability, and when push comes to shove, it's inoperable. And so that's one of the reasons why they would maintain secrecy, because one, it's their default, and two, with this particular situation that we had testimony on, it would be too embarrassing for them to let that out.
You know, that was actually the answer that Captain Salas gave when we had him on the show. He came on twice and spoke about the incident very much in detail. But I want to go back to Eisenhower. If you recall, when he left office, he warned everybody of the military-industrial complex rather than bragging about what he did good during his presidency, which is unprecedented with all the other presidents. Do you think he started the secret program and maybe was cut out of a loop?
No, I think what happened, because he had a very aggressive foreign policy, a lot of invasions of smaller countries. And of course, his Secretary of State, John Foster Dulles, whose brother was also the head of the CIA at the time, were terrible. They were religious fanatics. They really thwarted any possibility of a détente with the Soviet Union at the time. And so Eisenhower tolerated that. But I think being a military man, ending his term in office, he was prepared to state that the control by the military-industrial complex, which is Wall Street and the military, that is a very dangerous situation towards democracy, and he's quite right. And why I think he did that was that he realized that even he, as a military leader, failed to control the military in his administration. Let me repeat that. He failed to control the military in his administration and acceded to John Foster Dulles, who was essentially a real warmongering hawk.
Wow. Let's get to Snowden. Snowden's been world famous this past year, leaking U.S. secrets that he obtained from the NSA. There are people in the top administration that say they want to bring him back and prosecute, and then there's others that are talking maybe a possible negotiation, basically plea deal. He's looking for basically he's looking to come back to the U.S., but he doesn't want to be prosecuted. He wants to have his charges dropped. What do you think the case with Snowden?
Well, first off, I think he ought to stay away from the U.S. There's no way he would get fair treatment from the government, from our judicial system. And, of course, what he's done is not committed a crime. These hawks who defer to the military-industrial complex are all upset because he's showing how venal these policies are and the venality of the secrecy involved. Now, Snowden, in my mind, is a great hero. What he's done far exceeds what Daniel Ellsberg did and what I helped Daniel do in the release of the Pentagon Papers. Because what he's revealed is the ongoing secrecy and the ongoing crimes committed by the government. Now, remember that the Pentagon Papers showed that 3 presidential administrations, and then subsequently 4th, lied to the American people about what was going on with respect to the Vietnam War, our invasion of Cambodia and Laos. So all of those were lies. Now, those lies continue. That's the problem. After all of the risk that Dan took and I did at the time, it turns out that these lies continue, and we see it now with Snowden's revelations. And if there's people talking about, well, we'll treat Snowden properly and give him a fair trial, well, look what happened to Chelsea Manning. No way did he get a fair trial. And so if they want to prove that they'll be fair on the subject of reporting malfeasance in government, then they ought to pardon Chelsea Manning, and get him out of jail. And then if they do that, then maybe there is some confidence that there would be a fair treatment of Snowden were he to return to the United States. I think the best setup for Snowden is to get over to Brazil, and I think that's being negotiated. And as you know, Glenn Greenwald lives in Brazil and writes for The Guardian from Brazil, and Brazil would be a lot freer environment and a nicer place to live, particularly if you go down to Rio. It's not too shabby. And so I think Snowden has earned the right to go enjoy life in Brazil and to work with Glenn Greenwald in slowly revealing all of the information that they presently hold.
How do you stop the secrecy?
I don't think you can. I think that what's going to stop itself, because what's going to happen is we are an empire in decline, and we will continue to decline. Now, Britain, when their empire declined, we moved in to fill the void. Will China move in to fill our void? I don't know. But I know we're in decline, and I know that secrecy is generic, not only to the military, but to anybody in power, because it serves 2 purposes. It covers up your mistakes, and it makes you feel more important than you really are. Keep in mind, when I was 23 and 24 years old, I was a top secret control officer for the Communications Intelligence Service in Europe. What we did is we wiretapped people, we opened people's mail. Now that was back in the 30 years, 40 years ago. And so we were doing it then, and we're doing it now. The only change has been that we have better technology today than we did at that time in Germany, and so the military and the powers that be are availing themselves of the technology that's at their disposal. But the whole purpose of this is to maintain themselves in power. The elites control our society and have from the get-go. When I say have from the get-go, I'm talking about the very foundations of American society in the 16, 17, 1800s.
Wow. The secrecy continues. It just goes on and on. Obviously, there are some secrets that the public shouldn't be aware of for national security purposes and our safety. I totally agree with
those are what you call order of battle. Those are order of battle. And there's no question that should be held secret. Here, I'll give you a good example. There's no reason why any senator in the United States or a member of Congress should know the schedule of the picket duty of Trident submarines in the Pacific and Atlantic. They don't need to know that information. It's not relevant to their task. But whether we should field submarines on picket duty, that's a policy question, and clearly the United States should know, the Congress should be the one to determine what that policy should be. At this point, I think that policy is primarily determined by the military, and the Congress merely signs off on that. I don't think that's adequate, but that's the way it works.
There's photographs and videos of, these leaders and these criminals, basically Uday and Qusay out of Iraq, Saddam Hussein's sons. They show, after we blast them with an airstrike, their bodies to prove to the people, hey, we got them. And then Saddam Hussein, we got him and captured him, the video leaks of his hanging. And then the Libya event, we see Gaddafi being shot. Well, first there's an airstrike, and then we try and take them out. We fell, and then I guess some people on the ground, some citizens of Libya take them out. This is all shown to the public. But when we take out a major bad guy that inflicted so much pain on the United States in regards to 9/11, Bin Laden, why aren't we? Do you think we should have been shown the videos and the photos of Bin Laden and bodied?
Yeah. First off, there's no question. He should have been captured alive and brought to trial. But they didn't want to do that because they didn't want to reveal a lot of information which may be very inaccurate with respect to bin Laden's guilt and complicity in a lot of these events. And so they didn't want to do that. So from an executive point of view, from Obama's point of view, the best break that he could have is to have bin Laden killed in the process of being captured. And so I'm sure that that's what the orders were, shoot to kill as soon as you see him. And then, of course, they don't give you any reportage. He's brought to the aircraft carrier and is buried at sea. And so you just really don't know. And here again, it's you're stuck with the words, which are very hollow in my mind. Trust us, we did the right thing. Well, forget the major. Forget the major media. They're never going to report and tell you anything that the elites and the military-industrial complex are going to want you to know. The media is complicit in essentially a horror in this whole activity.
Absolutely true fact on that. But is it true that the SEAL Team 6 major, the team that took them out, perished in another helicopter crash? So anybody that was on the ground that was participated in this isn't alive anymore? Or is this a rumor?
Well, I think it's part rumor and part fact. I had heard that several of the men involved were killed in an accident subsequent to that, and that's not all that unusual. But that's as much as I know. And so here again, the whole thing is shrouded in secrecy. Except when you want to make a movie, and then the military will help you so that it makes them look good in the movie making process.
Snowden and WikiLeaks, Julian Assange, apparently are rumored to have UFO evidence, and WikiLeaks has released a couple of videos. What do you think the implications of them releasing such information will be to us?
Well, it would be great. It would be great. I would hope that they would do it at a very opportune time so that it gets as much visibility as possible. So here, too, we've got to get Julian Assange out of the Peruvian embassy in Britain and get him over to Brazil. So, boy, if you could get Assange, Snowden, and Glenn Greenwald and others working on from a media point of view out of Brazil, this would be a giant step to global information.
Third phase of the moon.